Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
You can put it on the board. Yes!
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, of course, the king of all, those jumbo cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at uppercutchops.com. That's uppercutchops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for uppercutchops.com. Yes! That's my patented yes! So if you ever hear anybody say yes like that, make sure you credit me, because that's my yes, if you know what I mean. All right, welcome in everybody listening in on all of our affiliates, whether it's network or independent, from our CBS, NBC, and Fox affiliates, wherever they're at, all the way across the country, and our independents literally in all corners, seemingly, of this United States of America, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, and WOW Cable Television affiliates, and Hotel TV in over 500,000 rooms. Thanks for joining us also on Facebook and on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Yes, the only Facebook page that I know of that actually gets national attention, and it's just a food page. You get to talk about all your favorite foods. So if you like to do that, go to Facebook and type in Chicago Food Favorites and join. Follow. Put your favorite recipes up there. It's fun. Your favorite foods, places you miss, foods you miss, whatever it is. Maybe you're cooking. Take pictures of it. Take video of it. Post it there. I don't get paid for this. It's just something fun for everybody. And this way we can all participate on yet another level. Because, of course, we have some partners for the Sports Circus that are food related. And one of those is Al's #1 Italian beef. The best Italian beef on the planet. The original Al's #1 Italian beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Yes, 1079 West Taylor Street. Make sure you check them out. And if you can't get over there, just go to alsbeef.com. Pick up your big tub of really good Italian beef. Boy, it's good stuff. And if you don't even want to do that, go to goldbelly.com and just type in Al's Beef and pick up your 5-pound tub of Italian beef there. Yes, and of course they get these super applause because they're friends of ours. We don't get anything for saying this. It's just fun. All right, now that we've got all that out of the way, and by the way, Al's Beef should be in every baseball stadium in America, if you know what I mean. If you know, you know. It's one of those things. So, here's one thing we don't know, or maybe some of us do. A lot of pitchers have been injured this year, specifically this year. I mean, injuries are really on the rise. And you have to ask yourself, what is going on? Now, I'm a former pitcher, and I have to tell you, injuries happen. But a lot of injuries can be prevented. Certain things happen when you're in training, when you're training for your spot in the starting rotation, for example, right? So, I mean, look, a starting pitcher should have 4 pitches, not 3, certainly not 2, 4 pitches. And those pitches are typically fastball, curveball, slider, change, right? Some variation of these. And now each one of these pitches, they have a different effect on the way the ball moves, the velocity in which it moves, as well as effect on your throwing motion. And of course, all these handy dandy little muscles and tendons. Everybody on TV can see me looking right here. You show I'm pointing to my elbow, right? And this is a really big issue for pitchers these days, very specifically. And we're seeing more elbow injuries, we'll leave it like that for just a moment, than we've ever seen before. In fact, an article came out, and that was on Well, actually, it was just a couple of days ago or so. Nonetheless, and this was according to The Athletic. I want to get through this one. The Athletic says, as according to them, Major League Baseball insiders are pretty worried by a rise in arm injuries to top young starting pitchers. Right? And this was, in fact, dated just a few days ago by Andy McCullough. We're going to give Andy his just due, of course, for writing this out. This is a pretty good article, but I want you to listen to this. Again, this is by The Athletic. Now, Matt Blake texted Cleveland Guardians pitcher Shane Bieber a conciliatory message over the weekend. As a member of the Cleveland player development system in the 2010s, Blake aided Bieber's rise from college walk-on to unanimous American League Cy Young Award winner 4 years ago. For a time, Bieber represented the modern model for manufacturing of a big league ace, a player who added strength to his frame, velocity to his fastball, and spin to his off-speed pitches as he ascended. Now, by the time Blake sent him the text, though, Bieber had become part of a growing and more troubling demographic. Talented young pitchers who will spend their season as a spectator. Now, a couple of days after the Marlins announced 20-year-old phenom Yuri Perez would undergo Tommy John surgery, the Guardians disclosed Bieber, who's only 28, would need the same procedure. How fitting that I actually have the show opening with Tommy John announcing, my name is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus. Well, here we go. It's funny, I know Tommy, and we've talked about this a little bit, but we'll get to that in a bit. Anyway, a recent examination of 25-year-old Atlanta Braves starting pitcher Spencer Strider revealed damage to his elbow's ulnar collateral ligament. Now, of course, Spencer Strider now is out for the season. And I know that because I have him on my fantasy baseball team, which unfortunately just took a big hit because I lost my ace for the starting rotation. Nonetheless, like a lot of other people, we all lost, but how do you think Spencer feels being on the shelf for the rest of the season? So, of course, he revealed damage to his elbow's ulnar collateral ligament, which could result, of course, in a second Tommy John surgery. Now, you may recall that Show Me the Money, Shohei Ohtani, had a second elbow procedure, but they don't want to call it Tommy John again, but he had a elbow procedure, which is remarkably parallel to, I guess, word has it, that it's very parallel to this Tommy John surgery once again. We'll get back to that. Now, in New York, where Blake is now the Yankees pitching coach, the team had lost its ace, Garrett Cole, until June with elbow inflammation, and one of its top relievers, Jonathan Loizaga, to a year-ending elbow surgery. Now, of course, Blake said, quote, as a pitching coach, trying to get through 9 innings worth of pitching every night over 162 games, I'm pretty worried, close quote. Really? We'll get to that. Now, pitching has always been a hazardous position for its practitioners, according to The Athletic. And there is reason to believe it is only getting more challenging to keep them healthy. And there's an answer for that too. We'll get to that. The opening days of 2024 season have demonstrated the inherent fragility of the position. A recent story by The Ringer cited research from former Major League Baseball trainer Stan Conte that tallied 263 UCL surgeries last year, a steady uptick from 111 from 2011, just a dozen years previous. Of the 166 players who began the season on the injured list, as the New York Post reported, 132 were pitchers. And if these trends continue in 2024, will there be another banner year for arm injuries? Probably. And of course, it sure seems to be, and cause for alarm around the game. Now, the subject prompted sniping between Major League Baseball and the MLB PA recently, as the two sides argued through press releases about the effect of the pitch clock, which was introduced in 2023 and shortened in 2024. The Major League Baseball Players Association chief Tony Clark, and of course, whenever we mention Tony Clark's name, there's usually a chorus of boos that come with it. Well, Tony Clark painted the league's insistence on cutting time off the clock before the 2024 season against the wishes of the players as a, quote, an unprecedented threat to our game, close quote. And there he is, speaking, you get booze. We're going to have to carry this article into this next segment, but I want to continue on here. Major League Baseball countered by citing unpublished analysis from Johns Hopkins University that found no link between the introduction of the pitch clock and the surge in injuries. Now, I'm going to side with Johns Hopkins on that one for a few reasons, and we're going to get to that. I may even talk about that in between segments. Nonetheless, the clock, however, was just one area of concern among players, coaches, and the managers surveyed by The Athletic recently. And those conversations presented a tapestry of additional reasons for the injured problem, including the industry's relentless push for optimization, the encouragement of players to chase maximum velocity and spin, and the usage of training methods that encourage year-round full-throttle workouts. To some, the explanations are interwoven and intractable. Untangling the knot may require years of research and reevaluation. I'm going to stop right there because we're going to go to break in just a few moments here. Folks, there's a lot to unpack here. There is a lot. And I can tell you there's a lot of rhetoric going on here as well. And as we unpack this, maybe this will become a little bit more clear as to why some of these things are happening. But these injuries are not a mistake. It's not a crazy phenomenon or a what if. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus. We're going to be back in just a few moments and pick up on this conversation for pitching injuries. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC Sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes.
Show me the money!
Minutes. Call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is 1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, this segment is brought to you by Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Make sure you check them out. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Talk about your favorite foods and your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes, maybe a little bit of influence somewhere through the Midwest. I don't know. You could be anywhere in the world right now listening to this or watching this. In fact, on the social media side. But nonetheless, make sure you join, follow, participate, have a little bit of fun. Nobody gets paid for this. It's just for a lot of fun. That's it. That's Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And tell them the circus sent you. Yes! How you like them apples, kids? Oh, that's good stuff. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on TV and radio. Big hello to our friends over in Honolulu. Everybody can see the Hawaiian flag right behind me if you're watching on TV. Big thanks for everybody listening in on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA over in Honolulu. That's home of the New York Yankees and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And welcome into everybody up and down the West Coast on all of our other affiliates. Could be our friends over in Southern California on 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM. Maybe they're joining in with us today. Maybe they're not. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, big hello to our friends all the way up to Seattle and Portland as well. All the way across to Chicago, St. Louis, down to Texas. Our big hello to our friends over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD. That's home of the Atlanta Braves, 1230 on the AM dial, 99.1 FM over in Atlanta, Georgia. And all of our other affiliates from coast to coast, everybody on TV and radio and da-da-da-da-da. You know the story. All right, back here with this really interesting story, and it's about pitchers getting injured. There's a very big spike in injuries in the last year or two. This year, more than last year, surprisingly. So I was going through an article that was written by The Athletic, actually one of their top writers. It's a pretty good article here. So it was basically a dialogue that was started. It started out talking from a pitching coach's standpoint, and they made a reference to Shane Bieber. I was going to say Justin Bieber. No, I don't think so. Sorry, Justin. No, not that one. But nonetheless, so it's about people are saying, well, this pitch clock is a problem, right? So I'll start with the previous paragraph. It says the clock, however, was just one area of concern amongst players, coaches, and managers surveyed by The Athletic recently, and the conversation presented a tapestry of additional reasons for the injury problems, including the industry's relentless push for optimization, the encouragement of players to chase maximum velocity and spin, and the usage of training methods that would encourage year-round full-throttle workouts. To some, the explanations are interwoven and intractable. Untangling the knot, according to The Athletic, may require years of research and reevaluation. I happen to believe not. And of course, even Dodgers manager Dave Roberts said, quote, to protect these guys' arms is paramount, and clearly we haven't nailed it, close quote. Well, there's a lot more to that there, Dave. Let's carry on with this article. They say, The Athletic says, this season began with baseball's most heralded pitchers on the shelf. Dodgers starter Clayton Kershaw underwent shoulder surgery last October. Rangers pitcher Max Scherzer is recovering from back surgery, while his teammate Jake DeGrom is rehabbing from a second Tommy John surgery. Astros ace Justin Verlander experienced shoulder soreness in spring training. All those pitchers are 35 and older, the sort of age where the body no longer cooperates with the rigors of the big league schedule. I don't think so. I think that's just a blanket statement that should be retracted and redacted. Now, The Athletic also says for Major League Baseball, the more pressing concern is the fleet of arms breaking down soon after reaching prominence. Marlins starter Sandy Alcantara, the unanimous winner of the 2022 Cy Young in the National League, underwent elbow reconstruction last season. So did Tampa Bay Rays pitcher Shane McClanahan, a little more than a year after starting the All-Star game. Brewers pitcher Brandon Woodruff will miss the season because of shoulder surgery. Same for Royals pitcher Kyle Wright, a 21-game winner for Atlanta in 2022. And of course, Tigers manager A.J. Hinch said, quote, Our sport deserves our best pitchers to be on the mound. Regardless of the area you're in, the starting pitcher matchup is the first thing you look at every day. And you want the big boys out there. You want the guys that are elite, and more are getting hurt, close quote. To research the problem, Major League Baseball commissioned a study last October, which has sprawled into including conversations with 100 people around the game, including medical officials. When the study is completed, the league intends to create a task force and provide recommendations to clubs about how to keep pitchers healthy. Honestly, folks, they don't need a task force. This goes back to conditioning, and we'll get to that, I promise. Now, The Athletic continues on with, the sport has grappled with the problem since its inception. In another era, pitchers were believed to get hurt by overuse. Teams altered how they used the pitchers in hopes of preserving them. Gone are the days of exhausted starters pushed to the brink of 125 pitches or more, trying to finish the 7th or 8th innings. The new archetype asked pitchers not to ease into outing, but to explode at the outset. Go as hard as you can for as long as you can is the new mantra. And therein lies the problem. An influx of data about the shape and movement of pitches offered teams granular ways to make pitching better. The data did not, however, offer an answer for how to keep them healthier. Yes, it does, folks. Now, here's a quote again by A.J. Hinch, Tigers manager. Quote, I've heard through my years of managing that we ask less of a starting pitcher because we don't leave them in the game long enough and they don't throw 100 pitches as much anymore. Yet we ask them for maximum velocity, maximum shape, maximum everything, and virtually train year-round, close quote. So, Hinch pointed to Tariq Skubal, a 27-year-old Tigers lefty who underwent Tommy John surgery in college and flexor tendon surgery just 2 years ago. Skubal trained this past winter so that when he arrived to spring training, he touched 99 miles an hour in his first session of a live batting practice. Go to Tariq and tell him, hey, ease off and throw 92 and see how that works out for you, is what A.J. Hinch had said. He also said no, because we're asking our athletes to compete at the highest levels. Well, to some retired players, the quest for elevated velocity and spin has put pitchers at risk. Dan Herron, a 13-year veteran who now works as a pitching strategist for the Arizona Diamondbacks, posted on X about his Instagram feed providing footage of, quote, guys throwing weighted balls at max effort against a wall with a crow hop. Right, so a crow hop, right? You take the big step and then you throw. Nonetheless, with a crow hop, with his bros cheering him on. And Robert, the body is designed, in my opinion, to only take so much force and velocity before it gives way. Okay. Some, like Chicago Cubs manager Kirk Counsell, suggested pitchers will always try to throw harder. And in fact, he said, quote, I don't think the pursuit of velocity is ever going to end because it's something that makes pitchers better. I don't think we should demonize the pursuit of velocity. Close quote. And that's for you, Mr. Counsell, because you couldn't be any further than the truth, or from the truth. Nonetheless, yet the industry has championed, according to The Athletic, championed this trend by shortening the outings of starting pitchers and encouraging them for maximum output. Not only do the pitchers throw their fastballs as hard as possible, they throw their off-speed pitches with the utmost force in hopes of generating unique movement and missing bats. So Blake had said, quote, the types of deliveries that create the outlier shapes are probably more stressful in some ways, and I think the maximization of force to create the shapes probably doesn't help. When you're chasing 20-inch breaks or 20-inch off the ride of the high velocity, I think there's some level of physical cost, close quote. Now look, this is a very long article, and there's a lot of good information in this article. I'm going to finish up with this here. Despite protestations from Major League Baseball officials, players will continue to complain about the clock. The innovation trimmed 24 minutes off the average game last season. The timer in 2023 granted pitchers 15 seconds to act with the bases empty and 20 with runners aboard. Major League Baseball's 11-man competition committee voted to shave 2 seconds off the 20-second pitch clock for 2024 despite objections from the players. And of course, Angels pitcher Tyler Anderson suggested pitchers might place more stress on their arm rather than their legs because of the clock, but he doubted any study could show a correlation between decreased time between pitches and increased injuries. The active pitching was already unhealthy enough, and Anderson even said, quote, Rob Manfred knows it's really hard to prove, would be my guess, close quote. And, of course, the union sees the clock as the boogeyman, and the commissioner's office sees their complaint as the straw man. For coaches like Blake, who must navigate the season as injuries continue, the clock is the only part of the problem, along with the perilous chase of velocity and spin. And in fact, Blake said in closing, I don't think any of them are the most responsible, but the cocktail of them. All is hard to get by. Close quote. How do you like that for a round of booze? Folks, this stinks. This stinks. In the next couple segments, we're going to break this down a little bit, and we're going to look at the correlation to injuries, average salaries, etc. So you don't want to miss this one. Take it from a former pitcher. This article only talks about a poppy seed on the bun of the real problem. Believe me, folks, this is a real problem. Back in a few, right here on the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on air that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting. Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm the Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV studio, AAMP.TV. Big thanks to everybody tuning in on Facebook. Of course, we're streaming right now on Facebook. Thanks for joining us there. Also on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. In fact, our buddy Joey Ko, Joey that guy. Big hello to Joey, and of course, it's the birthday boy, and happy birthday to you, young man. All right, nice round of applause for Joey Ko. We like to call him Joey Ko, even though it's not his name. Nonetheless, make sure you check him out at Joey That Guy. You can just Google him. He's everywhere. All right. And welcome back to everybody listening in on television, radio, and all your favorite markets as well. And, of course, we were talking about what? Oh, yeah, that's right. Pitching injuries. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let's think about this, folks. And you're welcome, Joey. So let's think about this. The pitching, I just went over a big article on is pitching injuries from The Athletic. As a matter of fact, it was a pretty good article. And it really covered some basic pieces that, well, people should probably read about. So Matt Blake, who is a pitching coach. I guess he is a player development. Actually, he's a member of the Cleveland Player Development System back in the 2010s. And he was talking about, with the Athletics, some of the ongoings with these injuries and whatnot. All right, so now we're going to chop these things up a little bit. So you ask yourself, why are players getting injured? Why? What is it? Why are they getting injured so frequently? And what is it that's causing the mass rash of injuries? I guess that's what we really should be asking ourselves right now. So, and you can't necessarily say, well, you know, these kids, well, there's a lot of stress put on them. I don't want to hear that crap. I don't want to hear that crap because they're all doing what? They're all chasing the dollar. And when they chase the dollar, well, you know what happens. Show me the money! They all want to get paid, right? But you see, it seems that the dollars are driving the injuries because the pitchers are doing what? Well, it occurs to me that the pitchers are doing it wrong. They're conditioning themselves wrong. And you say, well, wait a minute. Isn't that the pitching coach's issue? Yes. In my opinion, it's absolutely the pitching coach and the strength and conditioning coach. It's their issue. It's not the kids. No, it's not. Because the kids do whatever the coaches tell them what to do. Because remember, if you do these things, you're going to get paid. So let's just say there's a problem, first of all, with the conditioning of these kids in the first place. What are you talking about, right? Well, the conditioning is not just arm exercises. But first of all, the kids aren't even running. Who runs anymore? I mean, I don't know. I don't see players doing laps around from the dugout area all the way around, from the dirt all the way out to the warning track, along the home run wall, back to the other side. I don't see them doing laps anymore. I don't see the running. Why is the running important? Okay, let's think about this. The reality is, running does what? Well, it gets your blood flowing. And it gets your blood flowing through the body. And it's not just in your legs, or it's just not only in your chest, whatever. No, it actually gets it flowing through your whole body. So your shoulders, this is a big thing. The shoulders are a big deal because why? Well, what do? You need blood flow. And blood flow will do what? It will help prevent injury, right? And so you need the blood flow. And what does running do? What does riding a bicycle do? What does walking do at a reasonably brisk pace? It gets the flow of blood going through your body. And you become less susceptible to injury because you have better blood flow and better circulation through your body. This is what a lot of people are missing here. But these kids are like, well, I want to throw 100 miles an hour. Guess what? In yesteryear, very few people threw 100 miles an hour. Very few people. In fact, I remember back in the 1970s that the Houston Astros had 3 guys that threw 100 miles an hour. They were the first team that I knew of, anyway, that actually did that. And those guys were Nolan Ryan, J.R. Richard, and Mike Scott. And so Nolan Ryan pitched well into his 40s, into his mid-40s. And Mike Scott hung around for quite a long time, a very good pitcher as well. So you say, well, wait a minute. Those guys were throwing 100 back then. What did they do? Look, it's not necessarily how hard you throw. You don't have to overpower everybody. High velocity doesn't mean it's hard to hit. It just means the batter's got to do what? They got to dial it up a little bit faster. That's it. That's it. Believe it. I came out of high school throwing very hard. And when I was throwing in the next league that I was in, I was throwing 97. I was throwing a two-seam fastball, 97 miles an hour. Not a four-seam fastball, which goes across 1, 2, 3, 4 seams, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right, there's the 4 seams, right? The two-seam would be like this here, right? So you're across these 2 seams right here. All right, I was throwing this one 97 miles an hour for everybody on TV. Now, my middle finger came off the ball as a left-hander, so the ball would actually tail away from the right-handed hitters, just naturally, because when I would throw it, the spin, it would tumble in this direction, everybody watching on TV, so it basically would tumble this way and move away from the right-handed hitter as a lefty. All right, so for right-handed pitchers out there, when they throw that two-seam fastball in the same light, well, their middle finger comes off the ball first, and essentially that ball starts out in the strike zone, and what happens? The ball ends up tailing away from the left-handed hitter. It's the same kind of idea, right? And there's a little tip that I can give you as far as the pitcher's control on that particular day. Look to see where the pitcher is lining up on the pitcher's rubber, and that will tell you a lot about how the pitcher either A, feels about his control or command on that day, or what their goal is on that day against that particular lineup. A lot of people don't look at that stuff. I look at that stuff. When I watch games on TV, I can watch a 1-0 game and be thoroughly entertained, unlike most people. But let's get back to this high velocity thing. So, a lot of guys, when you take guys like Bob Gibson threw 99 miles an hour, he's in the 90s, whatever. And he was also a Gold Glove boxer, so it's not like you could really go and complain to this guy if he would throw it inside on you, because then he would just beat the tar out of you anyway, if you know what I mean. But in today's time, you have guys, the average pitcher is throwing 95 miles an hour nowadays, right? Which back then, that was really fast. However, a lot of these guys do what? They throw the ball straight. And all you got to do as a hitter, you just make good contact in the sweet spot, and you're going to hit that ball out really far. You know why? Because the pitchers are doing a lot of the work for you. And so they say, well, wait a minute. Now we got to work on the spin rate thing. All right, so you have velocity as a problem because guys are overthrowing. And the bigger problem is when they overthrow, what are they doing, folks? They are putting a lot of stress on their elbow, right? So you pick that baseball up. Of course, I'm a White Sox guy, so everybody watching on TV, my beloved, horrific White Sox, they're the worst team in baseball right now, but they'll get it right. But the idea is this. When you throw and throw and throw, look, it creates a lot of trauma in the shoulder from constant throwing and throwing. Now, when we were kids, we used to throw, and we used to say this phrase, we used to throw till our hoses were hanging, basically till our arms were just hanging down. But we'd still throw some more because that's just what we did. We threw one-on-one games in a painted box on a wall, and it was called fast pitch, right? And so it would basically be a one-on-one baseball game. and you're pitching a full game. You're pitching a complete game. The point is, we would throw and throw and throw and throw. And we would probably throw fairly hard, but not as hard as we could because we knew that we had to pitch 9 innings and there was no relief pitcher, period. So you had to pace yourself. So you didn't overthrow the ball too much. But now, the bigger problem is not only these pitchers are throwing way too hard, but they're also trying to increase the spin rate on the ball, right? Why do we increase the spin rate? Because it creates movement on the ball, right? So if you have a tumbling motion, right? Somebody's throwing, like I throw a knuckle curve, for example. I throw a knuckle curve. I'm basically pulling down the lampshade with my middle finger on the ball for everybody watching on TV, and the ball ends up with this tumbling rotation, so it tends to have this high arcing or hopefully a 12-6 break for the batter to look at. The ball starts out at 12, it drops down to 6. That's that 20-plus inch break they were talking about in the article from The Athletic. So if you're really good, you'll have a 24 to 30 inch break. But the point is that spin rate, that twisting of the wrist over and over and over. Every time you twist your wrist, you're causing trauma on your elbow. Never mind the shoulder because you're already overthrowing. Now you're causing trauma on the elbow. And during break here, we're coming up on break. I want you to do this, folks. Even if you are or are not a former baseball player or anything like that, act like you're throwing a ball and just snap your wrist. That's it. Like you're throwing a ball, snap your wrist, but I want you to use your opposite hand and put your fingers down on your elbow, on the inside of your elbow, and feel that movement in there. And we're going to talk about that movement when we come back from break here on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere. Back in a few.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are our podcasts. No, we don't do a podcast. We do a real TV and radio show. We just happen to take our full files and store them on Apple and Spotify and Google and who else is on there? Pandora and all the other ones. Amazon, Audible, whatever. Anyway, folks, you can't get away from us. Also, make sure that you check out all of our social media as well. On X, we are at the Sports Circus. I had to think of that. X, Twitter. Yeah, we're at the Sports Circus on X. And also on Instagram, we are TSC Show. That's TSC Show. And of course, on Facebook, we are Sports Circus. Yes! All right. Also, folks, what we want to do is make sure we acknowledge our friends listening in over on Facebook on Chicago Food Favorites. Make sure that you like, follow, join the page, whatever. Have fun with the page. There's lots of great food items on there that you could talk about. Bring your favorite recipes. I don't just talk smack about somebody else's favorite foods. I don't really give a damn. It's just for fun anyway. That's Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And of course, tell them the circus sent you. Lots of great stuff there. All right, back to this discussion on pitchers blowing out their arms and shoulders and elbows and crap like that. I mean, look, at the end of the day, folks, these pitchers need to remember that good health equals a long contract and bad health equals a short contract, likely because of this Tommy John thing. You know, I talked to Tommy about this, and we had Tommy on the show, and Tommy said, why is it that everybody associates my name with something bad? Well, unfortunately, because of that injury that he had, he was essentially the first guy to really get that done. And I think Dr. Andrews does those surgeries now, if I'm not mistaken. I forget the guy who did the original one for Tommy. I don't know. But in any event, my point is, look, you don't have to overthrow. You don't. All you've got to do is be precise. You need good command and you need good control. Those are two different things. And if you don't know what those are, you better look them up. So how are the pitcher is going to make a lot of money in today's time? That's what you got to ask yourself. Well, you're going to make a lot of money if you're healthy and your ERA is somewhere in the 3s or less. I mean, even the low 4s are acceptable in today's time. They say, well, we have to monetize the innings now. Well, what the hell does that mean? Well, okay, so all these sabermetrics, all these ridiculous statistics. Oh, well, we've got how many walks and hits per innings pitched, and what about your exit velocity from hitting the ball? And well, they've got all these metrics they're putting on how hard someone's throwing, how hard someone's hitting the ball off of the pitcher. Well, if they're hitting the ball really hard off of them, they must not be doing very well. Look, one thing that I didn't understand when I was a kid, because I was on the worst team in my only little league team that I've ever played on. I was on the worst team in the league. We won 1 out of 20 games. It was awful. And I had no confidence in the 7 guys behind me, right? All the infielders and the outfielders. And I really didn't have a lot of confidence in the catcher. But the guys behind me, I felt like I had to strike out the world. And it was, I struck a lot of kids out, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, I wasn't doing what a pitcher is supposed to do. And folks, in case you don't know, what a pitcher's job is to do what? Pitch to contact. Pitch to contact. Why? Because you've got 7 guys behind you that are supposed to do what? Field the baseball. That's it. So you take a guy like Mark Burley. Mark Burley did not overpower people. No, he threw a perfect game. He threw another no-hitter. He's a World Series champion, an all-star, a great career, of course, with the Chicago White Sox. Yes! So Mark Burley was a guy that moved very quickly on the hill. He kept hitters on their toes. He kept the game moving. And when pitchers move faster, when they keep the game moving, it keeps the 7 guys behind them on their toes instead of having them flat-footed. Maybe they'll miss an easy fly ball. I've seen so much of that. It seems like nobody's practicing these days. But my point is, if you've got a fast-moving pitcher up there on his own accord and not because of a pitch clock, then the pitcher is going to be more engaged and the hitters are going to be sometimes going to be caught flat-footed. But at the end of the day, monetizing innings is where I was going with this. Okay, how many pitches per out is a pitcher going to average, for example? How many pitches per innings? How many pitches per strike? Are the pitchers getting ahead of the count? Well, this overpowering the hitter idea, look, it's nothing novel. Look, people have been being overpowered. Batters have been overpowered for years and years. But you've got to realize that even back in Babe Ruth's days, Babe was a pitcher for the worst five plus years of his career. Oh, Shohei Ohtani is the best player in baseball. No, he's not. And there's a bunch of reasons why he's not. Ronald Acuna Jr. is the best player in baseball, in case you're keeping score. Because he plays what? Offense and defense. Ohtani does what? He bats. That's it. And when he's healthy, he pitches essentially once a week. So therefore, you're not playing every game. The best player in baseball plays every game. And right now, currently, the best player in the National League for sure is Ronald Acuna Jr., arguably in both leagues. And I would say a healthy Mike Trout is probably the best in the American League. These are the best players in baseball. Even Mookie Betts, you can put him right up there with Ronald Acuna Jr. because he's really doing it. But my point is this. You can't monetize innings. You can't look at it as monetizing innings when you've got kids' careers that are basically weighing in the balance here. So these strength and conditioning coaches have them doing things, in my opinion. My career ended to a bad strength and conditioning coach and a bad pitching coach. Bad advice. Torn rotor cuff. The point is this. When those people are telling these pitchers to do X, Y, and Z, they're not out there doing it because they don't know. The pitching coach doesn't know because they're not in the arm of that particular player. They don't know what they're feeling. They have no idea. And a player is not going to complain, oh, hey, coach, you got to take me out. You know, I don't feel good. You're not going to hear that. You won't hear that. No. Unless, of course, there's one of those $500 million contracts. Oh, well, you know, coach, I can't get out there. I'm going to have to rest for a week, whatever. So that's free money for a week. The point is, there seems to be very little pride left in baseball today. They're more worried about the pitchers and catchers and other players and the teams, the ownership, and the management are all worried about the pressure from social media, from the broadcast announcers, from the sponsors, the TV contracts. We want to have the best players out there. And you heard that earlier with the article from The Athletic. That's exactly what they were talking about when they were talking from, I guess, this manager, Dave Roberts, was saying, well, you know, we want our best guys out there. A.J. Hinch said the same thing. We want our best guys out there. Every team wants their best guys out there. But your best guys are no good if they're on the shelf. So why force them to be overthrowing the ball, overspinning the ball? And I told everybody in the last break, do that motion with your hand, like you're actually throwing a ball, okay? And then do that twisting motion, right, with your wrist. Now, if you don't have a ball in your hand, it's okay. Just do it. Whether you're listening to me or watching on TV, you can see what I'm doing here. Just act like you're throwing a baseball and put your other hand, your fingers, on the inside of your elbow. Well, folks, you feel a movement in there every time you twist your wrist, okay? And that movement that you're feeling, that would be that ulnar nerve. That's that Tommy John surgery thing, right? So when that funny bone thing, right? Everybody knows what the funny bone is. When you injure that or when you hit it, it kind of twinges and it's like it hurts, but it feels weird, but it hurts. Okay, so every time you rotate your wrist like that in a throwing kind of motion, what you're doing is you're creating like micro traumas to this particular nerve. Now, if you do it over and over and over, well, what are you going to do? You're going to compromise the ligament in there. You're going to compromise everything. So there's the elbow reconstruction and all this other crap. So these kids in today's time are being taught to do what? Overthrow, throw as hard as you can, but you don't have to go that long in the game. And that's a bunch of BS. I'm going to tell you why. First of all, you don't overthrow. Now, let's take a look at this real quick. We don't have a lot of time here, but I want to run over this real quick. I want to look at complete games. Complete games is a big deal. It's how you get paid, folks. Let's think about this. In today's time, let's go to just last year. Last year, Sandy Alcantara had what? He had 3 complete games to lead the National League. 3 complete games, mind you. 3. And, of course, in the American League, it was Jordan Lyles with 3 as well. 2022, 6 complete games for Alcantara. And remember, he ended up going on the shelf. But my point is this. Complete games, you didn't even see a higher number, a double digit, until 2011. Let's go all the way back about 12 years or so. And he had, James Shields had 11 of those complete games. Now, for you to get consistent double digits, where they really start was right around 1999 backwards. But to get guys that would actually throw 20 complete games, you're talking 1985, 1986, Fernando Valenzuela in 1986, and Bert Blyleven in 1985. And guess what? They didn't overthrow. No, they were smart pitchers. Even Dwight Gooden, who threw very hard, very hard. Well, Dwight Gooden, he had 16 complete games in 1985. So my point is, you look at those, and then you look at what? Oh, that's right. Let's take a look at the league leaders in actual wins. Oh, wow. Now we have something different. Better yet, I'll tell you what. Let's just bounce around because we only have just a few more minutes, and we think about how that has translated from pay. Pay has gone up so much, it's embarrassing. And you look at even today's time, 2024, the highest paid player in the National League, $35,416,667, Patrick Corbin. In the American League, Max Scherzer, $43,333,000. Oh, and guess what? We can't forget about Shohei Ohtani. Now, can we? My point is, you take those guys that were winning 30 games a year. Denny McClain wins 30 games. Wins 30 games. Yeah. And Denny McClain didn't make but a fraction of this money. And guess what? He didn't overthrow. 20, 30 years ago, guys were throwing very, very well. They did not overthrow. They did not overspin. They didn't overcondition. No, they did basic forearm exercises. That's it. There's 5 exercises to do. That's it. You don't have to go crazy on all this overthrowing crap because you're not helping these kids whatsoever. They say, oh, the rash of injuries is getting worse and worse. Yeah, we'll stop beating the kids up and making them throw 100 miles an hour. Very few people could throw 100 miles an hour naturally. Most pitchers will throw in the upper 80s to low 90s, and that's what it ought to be. Don't force these kids because you're wrecking their arms for the sake of what? A little bit of hype? What about a lifetime of injury? And who knows what could happen from there. Folks, that's going to do it for the Sports Circus today. I got to tell you, this is a very troubling subject for me. And if you want to email and talk to me about it, info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Or go ahead and hit us up on any of our social media, and we'll have a talk with you independently. In fact, I'll answer everything myself. Hope you enjoyed today's show. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, and we'll see you next time in about 23 hours. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.